We're going to call this one the Wild Earth episode as we get hurricanes slash typhoons right on the equator, Indonesia. We got circular aurora, North Pole area. Haven't seen that before. Meteors ripping through the atmosphere, pyroclastic flows. We got volcanoes. And the world just seems to be, well, a little bit off balance right now. And realize how blessed we are to have abundant food around us at all times this century. And be sure to bring up politics at Thanksgiving this year to save on Christmas gifts. Adapt 2030 channel focusing on solutions to save you money this Christmas. And starting off with the unusual wild earth, well, not well organized, a typhoon off of Sumatra. Is it a cyclone? Is it a typhoon? 4 degrees north, but there was another typhoon that formed at 1.3 north, right on the equator, 2001. Current formation, as you can see, northern Sumatra heading over toward, looks like Malaysia. From the west, which is rare anyway. Look here at Zoom Earth for you, 45 miles per hour, but that might even intensify as it goes through the Malacca Straits. Right over into Malaysia. Those words don't normally go together with tropical systems in terms of, typhoons slash cyclones, but we're in a strange time. Bringing you back to 2001 because I have a time machine. EQ means equator, so that's where that formation was, 1.3 degrees off the equator, about 75 miles or so. Rare indeed. Not normally seeing these types of tropical formations this close to the equator, but again, disrupted electromagnetic field on our planet after the multiple CMEs pounding us. Earth's magnetic field is weakening. So as we move forward, there's a tremendous amount of things we've never, ever seen before that are going to start to take place. I guess if you were around 45,000 years ago and saw the geomagnetic pole shift flip, for a better term, you might have seen some of the same things. Oh, wait, our ancestors left us all those plasma petroglyphs as warning signs when we see them in the skies, electrified red sprites. We might want to take a look and plan for something else heavier and more powerful coming this way. And digging into cycles, Atlantic multidecadal variability, AMV. It's an ocean circulation cycle, and the hurricane formation or suppression based on this cycle, like the multidecadal oscillation, similar but a little bit different. They have an opposite polarity to them. Now we take a look at global tropical cyclone accumulated cyclone energy. That's all cyclones, all tropical systems around the world combined into this, what you see right here. How much energy has been released out of all systems in a single year as they make landfall or even stay out at sea. And if you look at the AMO, which is the Atlantic multidecadal oscillation, very familiar with this one. It's a 60-year pattern, up and down, up and down. Sailors knew this one. A lot of people traded crops on it. It's a commodities, well-known driver of climate, and the AMV below. I tried to match those up at 1870 with the line, so the starting point's kind of even with that. The general trend is the blue line in the AMO, but you can see those spikes and subsequent dips between that trend line. Then we go below here and we start to look, is there any similarities between the peaks and troughs of these 60-year cycles that it might also have something to do with the amplification or not of hurricanes? We've all seen the headlines talk about Ozempic and similar miracle weight loss shots, but what most people don't realize is that major analysis just found out that people who stop taking these weight loss injections gain nearly all their weight back within a year. That's the catch. These drugs only work while you're on them. They're expensive, and the moment you stop, your body fights back. This is why I like BioTrust GLP-1 Elevate, and everybody these days is obsessed with weight management results. GLP-1 helps my body naturally trigger the same hunger-controlling, craving-reducing signals that Ozempic would, without needles, prescriptions, or the scary side effects. It also helps reduce hunger hormones, supports fat loss instead of muscle loss, and helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels. For a limited time, you can grab a bottle of BioTrust GLP-1 Elevate right now for 40% off only at trimwithadapt2030.com. Plus, you receive a 60-day satisfaction guarantee and the free express shipping on subscriptions. Once again, go to trimwithadapt2030.com or click on that link in the description box below to get this deal right now. Now, Ryan Maui did this one here. It seems to be an inverse on the solar cycles, which is the orange. So it's solar maximum, solar minimum. And then the hurricane frequency seems to be an inverse, where there's more galactic cosmic rays coming in, cloud formation. And it does seem when we are at this solar minimum that we get more hurricane activity, as you can see here, stretching back. Nice correlation from, early 1980 to now. So as we drop off and we already reached solar maximum, we're heading on down. You should anticipate over the next, say, 3 to 4 years that hurricane activity would ramp back up because more galactic cosmic rays inbound, plus our magnetic fields weakening. So it's almost like a 5-year forecast in advance. And this one here from Chris Marnes, Colorado State University Atmospheric Science Department, Global Accumulated Cyclone Energy Index. Again, they're trying to average in the amount of energy contained within these tropical systems, sandwich it together. And what does this show us? Do we find some of these same patterns? Solar highs, solar lows, AMO, AMV? That is the question, which I might have half an answer here for you. North Atlantic missing storm adjustment. Now they're trying to adjust back for some of the hurricanes that might have been missed, going back to about 1860 or so. Above set of charts AB, they're going by the yearly. Below CD, it's a smooth average, very much as we saw with the AMO there, Atlantic multidecadal oscillation. So you can see that they're trying to reconstruct hurricanes that were missed because instrumentation didn't really catch the ones that were going out to sea. So with their readjustments here on the 15-year North Atlantic hurricane count, and above is the AMO, or the Atlantic multidecadal oscillation. Do you see a similarity there? I'm just asking. I think I do. But again, that would be the driver in addition to solar activity, would it not? So when you start to sandwich all this data together, you realize maybe it's a cycle. And it's a cycle on a longer period time frame. So looking out, what is our world going to experience 10 years or 15 years from now based on this? And we can already see why insurance companies are starting to raise rates, are they not? They are getting ready for the absolute smash 'em bash 'em period coming up around 2030, because as we head into solar minimum and all these factors are laying on top, and especially the Earth's depleting magnetic field, they must know something on the correlation of storm intensity. They're kind of front running it by 3 to 4 years by jacking your rates up, doubling, tripling, whatever rates it is, auto insurance, liability insurance, riders on top of that, umbrella coverage, your home insurance policies, whatever it is. They're getting in front of it because they know the damage is going to be catastrophic with some of these amplified storms in the future and the frequency of them. It's kind of like you can already see that coming, and the world's changing so much. So is this part of the event that anticipation is for more tightly controlled food supplies? You see everybody's getting ready to push out this digital ID, and that'll be / digital rationing card with that. Are you kidding me? They're not going to limit what you can do. They've already been talking about limiting your movements, so how many flights you can take, how much meat you can eat. Well, now take it into the real world scenario where there are devastating effects on crop production, supply chains, actual infrastructure itself to move the supply chains around. And then you start to get a Rubik's Cube of, that makes a lot more sense on what's going on, because you wouldn't want to spook the populace by telling them all these events are inbound, would you? And you take this into a global thing where this is going to be for the rest of our lives here, this next cycle. I don't know. I have mixed feelings of it. I believe everybody should have the message, and if they choose to act on it, great. But the amount of chaos that could possibly cause if it came from a nightly news feed, every magazine cover, every talking point, every talking head on the net, saying the same things like, oh, we need to get ready for this event. It's going to be big. It's going to just change. Maybe our economy will shrink, collapse, reform. We need digital currency. I don't think people would just be down with that. I think our society would collapse far in advance of the event being here. So I get it. I get it. If you're hearing the message, thank you for being here. You can share with your friends, families, and pass it along to think who you might think would absorb the message, and then really get ready for this. Volcanoes. Mount Semaru. So I'm going to walk you through the videos here. There's an ash cloud, obviously with a pyroclastic flow close to these villages. And you can see this coming down the mountain. And when I say coming down the mountain, it is coming down the mountain. It's running through these ravines, and you would not want to be close to this. Zoom in here. And as we come to the end of the video, I want you to watch where the ash plume goes. Then I'm going to freeze frame so you can see exactly the point I'm talking about. So this is running down those valleys, and here comes your ash plume. Now, how hot is this, do you think? So that's perfectly green forest. I know there's some ash coming in this thing, but as it retreats, do you think that's burn damage, or do you think that is just ash that's on the trees? Or are we looking at a scalded, defoliaged forest from that pyroclastic flow? Please put your comment below. And then as we look at this nonsense here, same hot pyroclastic flow coming down on a bridge full of people watching this, and you'll notice where the video ends. So like, hey, there's an ash cloud coming. Hey, do you think we should move? I know those things are hot. It's really hot ash from a volcano. What do you think? Should we get out of the way? I don't know. Let's take a picture. Maybe. And that truck that got through there, there's barely got through that ash wall, because normally that would just shut off your motor for sure. And these people, are they getting away, or have they been enveloped and trapped in a superheated steam cloud? Is the question, because notice where this person stops their video. The reason I bring you that is, in Africa, the exact same thing is happening. There's a volcano that hasn't erupted in between 10 and 12,000 years, depending on what you're looking at, in the Rift Valley. And they'd had an enormous amount of earth cracks and gas emissions, and punched through, I wouldn't say eruptions, but extrusions out, much like we see at the Kilauea volcano. A couple of villages, really, people got sick from all the gas that came out. So there's been a lot of activity in that same rift area, and boom, pops up, heads over the Red Sea, over into Yemen, got this cloud drifting off there. And again, when you're looking over in Ethiopia, Ethiopian highlands, they got the new Renaissance Dam there. Further down, though, is where we get into the Rift Valley, and that volcano hasn't erupted in 10,000 years. So all these strange magnetic field anomalies are happening. And suddenly we're starting to see strange things that we've never seen happen before. So I'll bring you to the Northern Lights here. Russian space station capturing this one. And you'll notice when we get up to this blue jet coming out, that is a field aligned current connecting back to the sun. I will slow it down so you can easily see it. I'll even zoom it in for you, but that purple there, that is a magnetic field line electrified to the point of it being visible, where the wrapping currents are coming down along that field line, that you can actually see where that current is going to on. I am sure it is a ground level event at that point. Because when you look at those stylized maps of magnetic fields around the Earth, they always come in with that deep arc on them. Well, this is the electrified one. Here you go. And you start to think, circular aurora. Haven't seen that before. And the whole thing, and this is up in Alaska, and it had never happened before. This is the first time they'd seen circular aurora actually twisting in a vortex field, which would be similar to those field aligned currents. They wrap in on themselves. Now we see a lot of ancient myths of things twisting, snakes twisting, serpents twisting, dragons twisting. They understood the field flow. They understood the electrical current nature of that magnetic field and the electric current riding next to each other. You got to have one to have the other. Can't have one alone. And then we have the top of our planet starting to turn into a field electrical generated vortex. Nice. What do you think this is going to do with our weather patterns? Oh, wait, it already has. That's the whole reason we got this completely knocked off polar vortex stratospheric warming unusual event that they have never seen either. To the meteors, More of these coming through our skies by the minute now. Seems like we're entering more of a debris field somewhere in space. And they're starting to come in like tremendously large and just more frequent, just on the planet, hundreds per day now. We've all seen the headlines talk about Ozempic and similar miracle weight loss shots. But what most people don't realize is that major analysis just found out that people who stop taking these weight loss injections gain nearly all their weight back within a year. That's the catch. These drugs only work while you're on them. They're expensive, and the moment you stop, your body fights back. This is why, like BioTrust GLP-1 Elevate, and everybody these days is obsessed with weight management results. GLP-1 helps my body naturally trigger the same hunger-controlling, craving-reducing signals that Ozempic would, without needles, prescriptions, or the scary side effects. It also helps reduce hunger hormones, supports fat loss instead of muscle loss, and helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels. For a limited time, you can grab a bottle of BioTrust GLP-1 Elevate right now for 40% off only at trimwithadapt2030.com. Plus, you receive a 60-day satisfaction guarantee and the free express shipping on subscriptions. Once again, go to trimwithadapt2030.com or click on that link in the description box below to get this deal right now. Let's talk about precipitation. Now, bridges are normally engineered to go at least exponentially over a flood level to usually the 100 or the 500-year flood level. Bridges getting washed away. This is in Vietnam. So you got to ask yourself, they know the monsoon and typhoons are there every single year. Now, the engineers are obviously going to design this in, but when you wash bridges completely washed away because of, extremes, makes you question how much extra rainfall's coming down. Because I would bring you back to this modern day turnpike road bridge, 18th century, like 1700s, and the original medieval bridge. Layers of time for you here. I wonder what kind of messages there would have been for us. Medieval bridge, we're going back 1280 or so. It's got 1780, a 500-year gap, and then, we come back 350-year gap. So the bridge building here, you're looking at a good 700 years plus. That still survives. They have planned for that. So what is it with our modern infrastructure that can't survive any longer? Would be one of the questions I would ask. And have you noticed that just so much of our fragile infrastructure is breaking continuously? There's nothing that's withstanding this onslaught that nature's giving us, the wild planet. We're at the exponential increasing phase. Now, where does it end? That's everybody's, golden question. Nobody has the answer, because we would have to rewind the clock back to coming out of the Ice Age. Not the Younger Dryas impact. That's too intense. But something on a gradual, then suddenly magnetic field, polar flip of sort, geomagnetic, not geophysical. We'd have to go back, 12,000, 24,000, 36,000 years on these 12,000 year cycles. Now, it's just interesting that when we came out of the Ice Age, cometary impact on the ice sheet over Canada, send all that water everywhere. Almost all the large animals in the northern hemisphere perished. The only animals that survived are down in Africa. That's why the big animals are there, because they're on the opposite of the planet and down on the literally other hemisphere on the opposite side. So luckily there was that band of air between the equatorial bands there, between those cloud cells, that kind of didn't allow that drift as heavily as it could have been. That's the only saving grace. If we had just had like no boundary layer, they would have been wiped out too. So what is it with this repeating cycle where everything we're building now doesn't last? And ask yourself the secondary question, why are they not repairing any of this infrastructure either? It's just none of it's being repaired. Letting it go off. They must know something. When I say that, I'm talking about central bankers, all these central planners for the world, and these moneyed families that have been in power for literally since the medieval times. They're the ones not repairing anything and knowing this cycle is back, and it just is not going to be good for humanity. Which brings me to Santa Barbara. What? I would think I was in a waking dream had I seen this much flooding coming on. And out of what's up with that, January 15th, 2025, the trend since 1952, this is Los Angeles, upward. Now, there's those variants within there. You get low rainfall, high rainfall, low rainfall, high rainfall. But where's the trend going is the question. Yeah, so you could expect more of this to happen as well. Lightning strike right down the trunk. And see, in our modern day, we can capture this. Freeze frame. Clouds, do you think of these iridescent clouds anything to do with nanoparticulate metals in the atmosphere, or do you think this is something strange as well? But our atmosphere is definitely changed a little bit, obviously. Milky white at times, clear at other times. But the iridescent rainbow clouds preceding or after storm fronts, during geomagnetic storms, hard to know the exact timing on this one here, but I thought it was beautiful enough to bring it to you. And the last point I'd like to make is an enormous amount of people are talking about the color of the sun again, changing. Some people are seeing a blue tinge to it. Some people are seeing greenish tinge to it at different times. Now, this is interesting for me because if it was turning from white to either blue or green, you think everybody would see the same color. But, with color blindness and that sort of thing, the way we perceive light. And then NASA comes on like, no, the sun's white all the time. Once you get above in our space shuttles and you get up there above, the atmosphere and thing, satellites, the sun is actually white. But when I was a kid, every time anything was presented to, they'd already gone to the moon and the sun's still yellow. They never told us it was white because they were trying to say, well, there's this because of the optical interference. That's the reason that the sun's turned white. And we're like, wait a second. When we were kids, it was still yellow. So you put up that much pollution up there and long hanging stratospheric aerosols that stay up there forever, that you've clouded the sky. You've clouded the entire Earth's ecosystem to the point of we're noticing it's white now. Oh, so the coverers come in. Oh no, it's always white. It had to come clean. So now it's starting to tinge on a different color, blue star Kachina maybe. But that obfuscation of NASA coming in, it was always yellow and then now it's white, but then the sun was always white. But wait a minute, now you clouded the skies. So now they're saying it's white because too many people are noticing and asking too many questions. This tinge of color coming in is also really interesting because one of two things is happening. The irradiance of the sun on just a general basis is changing. The color spectrum is moving, or there's something new in our skies, literally. Is it more meteorite dust? Is it more satellites being launched? Is it more injection of particles of different composition of particles at different altitudes? That could be a question as well. If they're up at 60,000 feet with carbon black compared to, 30,000 feet with aluminum, barium, and strontium, that would be a very different optical signature or blocking pattern. Also, the rainfall, there's been a schism, for best term, of where the jet streams are bending to in the wrong places and wrong times. That's why our precipitation's going out the door and we're getting the mega floods in areas and our crops are just in a disarray here. They keep trying to throw politics and trade deals away for the excuses why crops aren't getting delivered to the right place. Have you noticed that? You just have to wonder, is it a disruption in growing pattern masked by politics and trade as an excuse why? I encourage you to dig into all of these different points. It's all seems to be culminating, and I do believe 2026, this year coming, is going to be something for us to behold and really pay attention to, specifically irradiance color on the sun change, because that will be the biggie. If our sun does tinge more blue at certain hours of the day and you start to see a blue sun, I think people are just going to lose the plot at that point and just be like, I'm checking out, man. I'm no longer going to play your game with anything, with a rule of law, your taxes, your work, your stability of society. They're just going to be like a wild Mad Max segment that's going to be like, I don't even care. Sun's turning blue. Y'all just keep playing your games over there. But wherever we sit, more cosmic rays are going to come ripping in. They always behave differently. How do they behave? How do they affect our brains is one of the bigger questions too. Magnetic field declining, you got more cosmic rays coming into the low period. More storms are going to be coming. It's just things are going to get more expensive. Food, insurance, and also the disruption in air flights too. We're going to start to see that as well. Like I sure wouldn't want to have been flying during that, last or the X5. You'd have been fried in the plane. Above there, as we're going up at 38,000 feet on an X5 coming in, and you'd be standing up in the plane. You'd be fried. You'd be in a microwave oven. The whole time up there, not pleasant. This time of the year is always a sacred time of the year, and I don't mean it in a woo-woo. It's just we always harvested our crops in the Northern Hemisphere. We came together as neighbors, towns, villages, and harvested everything at the same time. We were able to eat as much as we could to try to fatten our bodies to go into these really heavy winter months, very cold, where you need more calories. At the same time, you could get an accounting of how much food there was. So if you needed to ration it or thin out the supply or just be very careful with it, you would know that in advance until you got to spring the next year. Now, if you had super crazy extra amount, it's party time through the winter. If you didn't have that much, it's like people died from no food back then. There weren't the supply chains we have today. So we are so blessed in so many ways, but just enjoy this time of year. It is really a very special time of year. Sun's energies are going to their low period coming up December 21st here next month for the solstice. Coming into the harvest season, there's an enormous amount of just the people behaving a little bit, more friendly at times, but there's a lot of depression at the times too. So if you see somebody that's not doing so well, it could be from a range of anything on the magnetic field side naturally on our planet, or it could be, everything we see economically and politically. But just try to give people a positive message during this time, and just give somebody a smile if they're out there, and really just try to uplift the vibration of the planet just with happiness and smiles and just being thankful for this time of the year and abundant food that we've never had like this. The last 10,000 years, we are so lucky to be alive right now with the bounty that we can get in things out of season in different countries. It's never happened before in human history, or at least the recorded history we have. Perhaps it has, but we've erased that and substituted with something else. But that's a completely different video. I do appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of it. If you like this type of content, please visit one of my sponsors, Victor Nutrition International, science-backed supplements, Protovite Plus, 1-pack, 100 plus nutrients. And if you want to buy me a coffee, support us, Civilization Cycle Podcast. Buymeacoffee.com/Civilization Cycle. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.